Hi, thanks for joining. It's Ray with Tarot Living. So we are currently looking at the court cards in tarot. And so video number 1, part 1, we actually talked about the rank. We talked about the elemental attributions of each of the ranks. So if you haven't looked at that, you would want to go back to part 1 first, I would think. So this video, we're actually going to talk about court cards and all of the different ways that they can be interpreted and the meanings that they can have, and how come there's so many different ways. And hopefully at the end of this video it'll help you to interpret court cards a little bit better when you have them come up in a reading. So let's get started. So some of the main themes that you're going to run into in terms of what the tarot court cards actually mean. I'm going to just break it into 2 main themes, I think, because I see that in quite a few books. So the first theme is that really it's external, and it's an external person. So this particular book, Tarot Court, Mary Greer and Tom Little, they go into either external, such as another person, or internal. So in other words, like a personality, a part of one's personality, the querent's personality that they need to get in touch with, some psychological process or symbolism about a psychological process. So external or internal. So those are kind of the basics of the 2 thought systems. So when you have a court card come up, the question is, do we always think it's someone that is another person that's externally in that querent's life? So the answer is no, we don't always think that it is. And I bet that years and years ago, hundreds of years ago when tarot were created, I bet when they were doing readings they actually did look at court cards as, strictly being about another person. So if you had a court card, let's say you brought up the King of Cups in your reading, it might be very prophetic, and they might be saying things like, there's a male that could come into your life, and they might even have physical characteristics associated with the card, and they talk about the characteristics of this person who might come into your life, or that will, or that is. And so they're really focusing on it being an external person. And I think that that definitely can happen in readings, absolutely. It can mean an external person. But again, it's 2 schools of thought, or not even 2 schools of thought, but 2 areas. So that external thing is another person, and then internal. Is it actually really related to the querent, to some part of their personality that they need to get in touch with, some method that they need to embrace, or some kind of characteristic that they need to embrace in order to move forward with whatever particular situation that they're in at this time? Those are the kind of 2 majors. It can also, though, mean an event and or an action. So let's say you ask, how is my job interview going to go coming up? How is the job interview going to pan out? And you pull a court card for that. So it could represent the person who's interviewing you. It could. But if there's other cards around, or that you don't think it actually is meaning that it's an external person, it can mean an event or action. So you're asking about how the interview is going to go. So if you pull a particular type of card, it can give you an understanding of the characteristics of that event or that action. So is it going to be quick? Is it going to be something that will be difficult to communicate? Is it going to be easy to communicate? It can almost be describing the event or the action in and of itself. Is it going to be an interview, or if someone is asking about, am I going to get, this job coming up? If they pull the Knight of Swords, I often think that's something that's going to happen very quickly. So I'll often say, this is something that's going to happen lickety-split. So if you are, thinking it's going to, be slow and you're not going to hear for a long time, you're probably going to hear something very quickly. If on the other hand, for example, somebody asks about if they're dating somebody, and let's say we don't think that the court card is related really to the individual, and they pull the Knight of Pentacles, that is a card that typically will suggest that things are very slow and steady. So it describes sometimes the pace of the event or the pace of the action, the cadence of it. What is the movement of it? Is it quick? Is it slow? Is it something that, is very deeply thought about, or is it something more on the superficial side? Is it something that's very new to me, which could be in the page? So those are all ways in which some of the court cards can talk about an actual event or an action. So not just really what's going to happen, but like in what method, in what way, in what pace is it going to happen? So I find that happens quite a bit in terms of court cards that might come up. So those are the basic ones. So let's review them. It's a person. It can mean a person, another person externally, totally separate from the querent, and it's going to come into their life, and they're going to have these characteristics that's based on the court card. Is it going to be a personality part of me that I have to get in touch with? Is it something that I need to work with, that energy, in order to, move forward? Do I need to get in touch with that? Am I actually, like if they've pulled a king, are they in touch with their authority, their ability to be an authoritarian figure? Do you need to use your authority in ways that you're maybe not? It's questions like that. You have to bring up the characteristics of the court card to see if they're utilizing the energy of that court card as well as they can. Is it a quality that I need to cultivate? Is it something that I need to actually work on? If I describe something to them and they say, I don't do that at all, but it might be that they need to do that. So if they have pulled, let's say, the King of Swords, maybe they need to be very objective. Maybe they need to make decisions, know how to make decisions, and be strong in their viewpoint. And they might be saying, I'm totally wishy-washy. So it might be saying, you need to cultivate that characteristic. Or fourth, it could be an event or an action. The pages and the knights often relate to events more so than the queens and kings. It's not always, but a little bit more so. Pages can often talk about something is new, some new action, new acquaintance, learning something, messages coming your way, information. That can be kind of a page domain. Knights can relate to something swift action, adventure, moving forward, very action-oriented. So those ones will definitely relate to action and events more so than the queens and kings. Not to say that can never happen, because it can, certainly. I had one person ask about selling a house, and they pulled the Queen of Pentacles, and it was really determined throughout the reading that the Queen of Pentacles was really describing the entire situation, the entire, process of selling the house. And she was ruled by Capricorn, and she's very good with manifestation and the physical realm, and money and business and that kind of thing. So it can. The queens and kings can describe an event, just not as frequently, I find. Okay, so now what we're going to do is actually talk about each of the ranks, not the particular suits, but just the ranks themselves, and some of the characteristics of each of the ranks. So I'm just going to show you some photos of each of the ranks, just some random ones for the page and the knight and the queen, etc. And I'm going to actually give you some information on each of them. A page is ruled by the element of earth, and it relates to Malkud in the Tree of Life. A page is often a child or a younger person of either sex, someone who's inexperienced, a new learner, or a student. Page can also mean that a project is in early stage of formation, or you're taking your first steps toward a goal. It often suggests new beginnings or a change. Lastly, pages can represent messages or news. So they are the bringer of the news. And if you're talking about a relationship, it can also often mean new acquaintance, new relationship, and something is in its nascent form, its undeveloped nascent form. Knights relate to the element of air and to ferret in the Tree of Life. This is typically a youthful person with more experience than the page, but seeking greater skill and knowledge. The person is often male, but can be female as well, representing the characteristics that are described here. The knight can be a person who is restless, energetic, strong, and action-oriented. It can suggest adventure, swiftness, passion, movement, travel, or haste. The knight can suggest changeability, new experiences, or people entering your life. The queen relates to the element of water, and she relates to Bina on the Tree of Life. She often symbolizes a mature woman or a mother figure. It can represent or relate to a male, and it's just really talking about more feminine characteristics that perhaps they need to incorporate. She's a mature person who has achieved experience, confidence, and personal power. The queen has a deep understanding and awareness of the suit. The expression of her mastery and authority is more receptive, nurturing, and supportive than the extroversion of the king. She is, however, considered an expert in her suit. She is a protector and a leader, but she leads with inspiration rather than commanding. The king relates to the element of fire and Hokmah in the Tree of Life, often symbolized by a male, father figure, or can be female, who is representing these characteristics. A mature person who has achieved mastery, accomplishment, and success. Can also suggest social status, leadership role, authority figure, and dictatorship. It represents action and ability to get things done. This is a more extroverted expression in which the king takes an active role in directing others publicly, teaching their own mastery, and having social responsibility of some type. Okay, so those are some characteristics of each of the ranks. Now, the one thing I can tell you is that the court cards, when they're in a reading, the rank is important. Those things that I talked about just now are important in terms of characteristics, but also what's important, and really extremely important, is the suit. So they're going to stay true to their suit. So thanks so much. I hope that these tips have been helpful for you to start piecing together how to read court cards in tarot readings. So if you've liked this video, don't forget to give it a like and a thumbs up, and give it a share on Facebook. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.